Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so I thought it would be fun to share a video with you guys showing you some really easy, affordable, kid-friendly, family-friendly desserts that are a little bit outside the box from just your standard cookies, cakes, chocolates, candy, etc. I don't do a ton of treats, desserts, snack type videos on this channel, but I would really like to do more. So if that's something that you would like to see, be sure to leave me a comment below. I was thinking about Valentine's Day and really wanting to make something special for the kids and for the family to enjoy, but I don't have a ton of time to spend on that. And I also was trying to think of something that's, just a little bit different. So I did search my mental Rolodex for some ideas for things that I have made in the past that are really easy, that come together quickly, that I haven't shared here before. And I'll share some fun stories with you about those recipes and kind of what I remember about them. And I also perused Pinterest and I found a couple of really interesting ideas that were smash hits. You will not want to miss those, and I will be sure to leave the original recipes linked in the description box below. All of these recipes come together with like a very small amount of prep time and very minimal ingredients, some of which you might already have on hand. So hopefully there's something easy and fun that you can make for yourself, for your family, for your coworkers, for Valentine's Day, or any other kind of special occasion. To make the strawberry cheesecake mousse, I am going to use 1 box of cheesecake flavored Jello, 1 1/4 cups of milk. Normally the box calls for 2 cups. We only need 1 1/4 cup because we're gonna add some whipped topping to it. This is 1 8-ounce container. I have a pound of strawberries, which I washed and then chopped up. So they're already chopped up, ready to go. And then these are just some vanilla cookies. You could use golden Oreos if you want. I just bought the really inexpensive kind that come in a package at Walmart, I think for like $1.48. I actually really like these, and I remember eating these for snacks at like Sunday school and like Girl Scout meetings and stuff like that whenever we were growing up. I'm going to actually put these into a Ziploc bag, a big Ziploc bag, and just give them a crush with the rolling pin, and then they'll be ready to use as well. You want to start by mixing together the pudding mix, and this is an instant pudding. By the way, I don't know why you couldn't use sugar-free pudding if you wanted to, and sugar-free Cool Whip for this. You need to use dairy milk though with pudding mixes. I think it even says on the box somewhere. It does not work very well with plant-based milks if memory serves me correct. And I also always mix pudding with an electric mixer because otherwise you've really got to whisk it really hard by hand. You can if you want to, but I just use an electric mixer. Okay, that was about 60, maybe 90 seconds, and see how it's starting to thicken up a little bit. Now I'm just going to fold in my 8-ounce container of Cool Whip. You don't want to use the mixer on this because whenever I've made that mistake in the past, sometimes the Cool Whip will liquefy. So you just want to kind of fold it in while the pudding is still setting up. If you mix the pudding for too long and it gets really thick, then it's a little harder to fold in the Cool Whip. So I recommend just about 90 seconds or so, just until you start to notice it thickening. It will continue to thicken with the Cool Whip in here. At this point, you could make it really easy, and you could just put your strawberries on top, put your cookie crumbs on top of that, pop a lid on it, and put it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours to set up, and then you could just spoon it out and serve it that way. I'm going to go a little bit of a different route. Okay, so I have all of my mousse right here in the Ziploc bag, and I cut the tip off of it here. And then I just have some little plastic cups like this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and like pipe some down in the bottom there. And now I'm going to add just a few strawberries and some of my vanilla cookie crumbs. And I'm gonna finish off with a little bit more of the mousse here. Just like that. Now I'm gonna leave these like this for now, but I am going to reserve just a few strawberries and a few of my cookie crumbs because we're gonna finish these up a little later. So I'm gonna make up the rest of these, and I'm gonna put them in a tray and pop them into the refrigerator for a couple of hours, and I'll show you how we're gonna finish these up. I wasn't quite able to get 7. I probably should have just gone for 6, or you could just fill these up a little bit less and you could probably stretch it to 8, but it's not gonna matter because of the way that I finish these off. I'll be able to kind of hide the fact that this one doesn't have any of the mousse on top. So I really feel like these would probably be best if you let them set up in the refrigerator overnight, but I mean, it's 4:01 and we're gonna eat these tonight. So they're probably gonna have about 3 hours or so to set up before I finish them off and we eat them for dessert. By the way, I did start this recipe at 3:45 because I remember looking at the clock so that I would know how much time I have before I need to go pick up a child from swim and drop another one off. It only took me 16 minutes to make these, and that was with stopping and talking with you guys, and giving some explanation. So if you need something that doesn't take a lot of time to prepare, this is probably a good one. So to finish these off, I am just going to top these with a little bit of this whipped topping here. Sprinkle on a few more strawberries here and some more cookies. And there you have it. Don't those look good? Yum.
Ooh, yum.
You think those look good? Uh-huh. Okay, these are fantastic. McKenna is dying to dive into one. She's actually finishing up her dinner because she just got home from a practice. So she has to do that before she has one of these, but she's already called dibs on the one that she wants. These are so good and so easy. And I imagine you can change up the flavors according to, what flavor of instant pudding you want to use, or maybe experiment with some different kinds of fruit or something, but really easy, so delicious. Definitely gonna make this again. That first dessert that I made was so popular with my family that we ate it all last night. So I'm gonna make another one for tonight. It's another one that I need to make ahead because it's got to set up in the refrigerator, but it will not take very much time at all to come together. It is for a cinnamon cherry applesauce Jello, and I'll show you the ingredients that I'm using to make that, and I will leave the original recipe linked in the description box below. These are the ingredients right here, and the original recipe calls for 6 ounces of cherry flavored Jello, 2 cups of applesauce, 1 cup of Sprite or 7-Up, 1.5 cups of boiling water, and then 1 cup of red hot candies. And if you are looking for these, I thought these would be really hard to find. I was able to find them in my Walmart in the theater box candy section. I didn't even have to go to multiple stores. I just found them there, so I picked up a couple of boxes. There might be some places that have these in bulk as well. And I think I've seen them in Dollar Tree on occasion. I only bought 1 little 3-ounce box of Jello, so we're actually gonna have this recipe. I'm gonna cut it in half for my family, which is fine because I'm actually doing one other dessert for today. So I'm going to use 1 3-ounce box of cherry Jello, 1 cup of applesauce, half a cup of Sprite, 3/4 of a cup of water, which I will bring to a boil in a saucepan here in just a minute, and then half a cup of the red hot candy. My water is boiling, so I'm going to add my red hot candy now. And remember that I am having this recipe, so I'm only using 3/4 of a cup of water and half a cup of the red hot candy. So I'm gonna stir that around a little bit, and you are looking for the red hot candies to kind of dissolve. I can already tell they're getting smaller, so it's definitely melting down. Okay, that took about 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes for my candies to dissolve completely now. So I'm going to add my cherry Jello and let that dissolve. Stir that around. And at this point, I'm going to turn my heat off. Now I'm going to stir in my applesauce. I need 1 cup. Original recipe calls for 2 if you're making the full recipe. And half a cup of 7-Up. Original recipe calls for a cup. And my applesauce was also chilled a little bit, which is good because it's going to help cool this mixture down enough that I can pour it into the containers so that it can go in the refrigerator and chill for a few hours till it's ready to serve. For this dessert, I'm gonna use my little plastic cups again. I was going to use just some little bowls or ramekins like this because I was worried that the mixture would be too hot to go in the plastic bowls, but I just tested it and it's pretty cool to the touch. It's not gonna hurt to put it into the plastic containers, and I think it'll look really pretty that way too. So I'm gonna make these pretty small servings, and I'm going to try as best I can not to spill any. You'll notice I also put my apron on because I really don't wanna get red Jello on my new sweatshirt. Which, by the way, I keep getting questions about. I've already received some questions about where I got this, and I got it at Walmart. For real. Picked it up at Walmart. $15. Okay, friends, that's it. I'm just gonna cover these with a little bit of saran wrap and pop them in the fridge. It'll probably take, 6 hours or so for them to set up. It's close to noon here, so they'll still be done in time for us to have them for a little dessert after dinner. And I'll show you how I'm gonna finish these off and kind of dress them up a little bit so they look even more festive. Okay, that was super easy and very fast. I really think that took me less than 15 minutes, like 14 minutes from start to finish. And that was with chatting with you guys and moving the camera around and filming. So it's so easy. And honestly, my kids love Jello. If you have kids, do they like Jello? Every time I make Jello, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? Or Jello related desserts, because my kids think they're getting this like amazing treat. And Jello, or gelatin, I should say, even like the name brand Jello gelatin, it's cheap. It's super cheap. I don't know why I don't do this kind of stuff more often, but this one was easy. I'm excited to finish it out, so we'll show you the finished product later on. McKenna really wanted to try the red hot candies. Do you like them?
Where's the water? Where's the water?
Are they cinnamony? They're spicy?
Pure cinnamon.
Yeah, I told you they were like a hot tamale. Okay, this one's good too. Definitely the cherry flavor kind of cuts back on the spiciness of the cinnamon with the cinnamon candies. I do think this would have been better if I had let it set up overnight instead of just letting it set up for like 6 or so hours. So if you have time, maybe make this a day ahead and let it set up in the refrigerator for a little longer, but not bad. I am also going to make up some chocolate covered strawberries today. And the thing about chocolate covered strawberries is they're really not that difficult, but you do have to take care to prep the strawberries and the chocolate appropriately, or else they're just gonna come out a big old mess. So I'll tell you what I've learned about how to do that. These are actually technically not chocolate covered because I'm gonna use almond bark and then we're gonna roll them in mini chocolate chips to finish them out. I actually learned how to make these when I was about 15 years old. My church youth group took a mission trip to Chicago to one of our sister Methodist churches there, and we were helping a church there clear out a warehouse that they were turning into a community center so that they could provide some services and some programming for their community. We actually stayed with the pastor and his family, and each evening another family from the church would have us over to their home and they would cook for us the most delicious food for dinner. The cuisine was just fantastic. It was like authentic Puerto Rican or Latin American food. It was so delicious. And each night they would finish off with chocolate covered strawberries for dessert. I don't know if that was just something that they enjoyed in their community or if it was something that they fed us because it was summer and strawberries were in season and probably really inexpensive. But I actually learned how to make them there, and ever since then I've made them the same way. So let me show you how. This is it, you guys. 3 ingredients. That's all you need. I have some strawberries here, which have already been prepped. They were washed. They are completely dry. You want to make sure that your strawberries are completely dry, that there's no water left on them after you wash them. So I actually did this yesterday, and then I put them into this container with a paper towel at the bottom of it so that I can make sure that they were completely dry for this. If you have any water that's left on the strawberries, your chocolate can seize and it just will be a big old mess. So just trust me on that one. That's the first tip, is you have to wash and dry the strawberries completely. I have 1 package of almond bark here. I'm probably only going to need about half of this package. This is 1 pound of strawberries. I actually had to hide these from my children so that they wouldn't eat them before I made this video. Don't worry, they're going to get to eat the chocolate covered strawberries, and so they were very excited when they learned that. But I actually hid them in the veggie crisper because I knew they wouldn't look for them with the vegetables. Isn't that horrible? And then I just have 1 package of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, and you want the mini ones. You really can't make this work with the big ones. If you wanted to use chocolate or melting chips, you absolutely could. I mean, you can change that up, but typically if you're using chocolate chips or melting chips, you have to add like a little bit of oil to make it melt properly. I just use almond bark because I can pop it in the microwave at 30-second increments and eventually it will melt. And then we're on the clock. My almond bark is in the microwave in a microwave safe bowl. I like to use my little Pampered Chef one that has the handle on it because it's easier to take it in and out because that handle doesn't usually get like super hot like the bowl does. But I always start at 90 seconds seconds, and then I'll like stir it around a little bit, and then I'll just do 30 seconds at a time. You don't want to overheat the almond bark, and because at least this has been my experience in the past, if I overheat it, it will melt and then it will harden up again. You also want to make sure there's no liquid in your bowl. It's the same with the strawberries. The chocolate will seize if there's any like water or moisture in the bowl when you're trying to heat it up. I also already have my little station set up for dipping the strawberries, because once the chocolate is melted, we have to get to that pretty quickly because it will set up pretty fast. Another tip on melting the almond bark is, even if there's still just a few little chunks left that need to melt, I take it out and just stir it, because the sides of the bowl are hot enough at that point, if you're using a glass bowl for melting it, that it will go ahead and finish melting. So you can see that my chocolate here, or my almond bark I should say, is completely melted. So now it is time to dip. I just take a strawberry and gently dip it in, and then I immediately roll it in the chocolate chips. I'm gonna put it onto a wax paper lined cookie sheet here to cool off. It helps too if you have your strawberries at room temperature instead of having them come straight out of the refrigerator, because it won't cool down your chocolate so quickly. You won't have to reheat your chocolate. I have a friend here who is eyeing the strawberries, and I told him we have to wait. They have to set up, they have to cool down before we can eat them. Now, if you wanted to make these a little more festive, you could roll them in like some red and white sprinkles, or like some heart-shaped sprinkles or something, which you can usually find, you know, in the stores, especially right now when it's so close to Valentine's Day. I kind of like the mini chocolate chips because almond bark technically isn't chocolate. It's, you know, a candy coating. So you still get the chocolatey flavor by doing it this way and just using the mini chocolate chips. These do need a cool place to set up, so you can pop them into the refrigerator if you want. It's a cold day here, so I'm actually just gonna probably lay like a tea towel over the top, and I'm gonna put them out in the garage because it's like 30 something degrees outside. So that will be just fine for these to set up and a place to store them until we're ready to eat them. And if you're wondering how to use up the rest of the almond bark, I just have like some little animal crackers and some pretzels here laid out on another cookie sheet with wax paper. And I'm just gonna kind of like drizzle that over the top like this, trying to get it coated as much as possible. And I've got some red sprinkles here. This is actually a Christmas decoration kit, but red will work since it's close to Valentine's Day. So this is just some little red decorating sugar that I'm gonna sprinkle over the top. And then these can set up and they'll be like little white chocolate drizzled snackies. With the leftover chocolate chips, and I know there's a little bit of almond bark in there too, but it should still work just fine. I would put them back into the bowl, and I would add a little bit of peanut butter, like maybe a few tablespoons of peanut butter, put them in the microwave, 30-second increments, stir them up, and then spread that across graham crackers on another wax paper lined cookie sheet. Let it set up, and it makes really delicious chocolate covered graham crackers. And those are actually really great for making s'mores. So just an idea for you there. I don't have time to do that right this second, so I'm just gonna put them in a little Ziploc baggie and pop them into the fridge, and then I can make those graham crackers later.